Hey guys, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we've got a very special recipe because it's Nordicware's 75th anniversary, so we're going to use their new anniversary Bundt pan to make something very, very special. It's going to be a Neapolitan marble Bundt cake. So the recipe is based on a classic pound cake. It's going to be nice and dense, super moist, and doesn't really need anything other than the cake itself. Although obviously if you want to add a glaze, a drizzle, a ganache, whatever, go for it. But what we're going to start with is just the classic butter and sugar to cream that together. So make sure it's nice and room temperature. You can press it, leave an impression, but it won't be greasy or at all oily. You want it just to be that nice pliable texture. So we're going to add that to our mixer, and then we're going to use caster sugar. Just add that to the mixer, and then we're going to beat that together for about 5 minutes or until nice, light and fluffy. And it's really important you don't underdo this step. It's the most important step in making this classic pound cake style recipe. So once our butter and sugar mixture is really nice, light and fluffy, we're going to add our eggs one at a time, mixing really well until combined before adding another one. If you add the eggs too fast, you can split the batter. If you just want to do this nice and gradually, we're also going to add a little bit of vanilla bean paste to give a really nice background flavour. To that we're going to add a mix of black cocoa powder, plain flour, salt and baking powder, and that is going to be our delicious chocolate mixture. I'm using black cocoa powder because I really like its flavour. It has a real intensity to this cake, but you can use any other form of Dutch cocoa powder. If you don't have access to black cocoa powder, that's completely fine. If your cocoa powder looks like it has clumps, which can sometimes happen with good quality cocoa powder because it can have a high fat content, just pass it through a sieve. If it feels nice and smooth, don't need to worry. Then we're going to take our bowl, weigh into that a third of the batter. That's exactly a third. And then to that we're going to add our cocoa powder mixture and just stir that together. Then we're also just going to add a little bit of sour cream. You could also use buttermilk for this if you wanted, and just mix that together as well. And then to the rest of the batter that's in the bowl, we're going to add our remaining flour, baking powder and salt, and just mix that just until it forms a nice smooth batter. And once that's smooth and all nicely combined, we're also going to add some sour cream to this batter as well. So now that our second 2/3 of the batter are made, we're going to split that into two, and then to 1/3 we're going to add some freeze-dried strawberry powder and a little bit of pink food colouring, and to the other third we're going to add white chocolate that we melted and cooled earlier. So to put the batters into the tin, you've got a couple of choices. I like to put them into piping bags just because I like the neatness that I can get with it, but you can also just do this with spoons, just scooping it into the tin. Basically what you're wanting to do is put a separate colour into each section of the tin. So don't fill up each section all the way to the top. You're going to start with a little bit in the bottom of each one and work your way around, so you slowly, gradually build up the height until the whole batter is used. Don't worry about it being too perfect. It will look great, whatever, and you don't need to swirl this batter together. Once it's in there, it naturally does its thing and you'll get a really beautiful patterned cake when you cut into it without doing anything. So once our bundt is all prepared and ready for the oven, the one last thing you want to do is make sure you give it a firm tap on your surface, and that's so all the cake batter can sink into the details, so you don't get any little holes or pockets where the cake hasn't sunk. And that's especially important because bundt cakes are often denser, so they don't necessarily sink as easily, and that's really important when you're using a really detailed pan. For this one, a few sharp taps on the surface is fine. Now we're going to pop it in the oven set to 180 degrees Celsius, which is 160 degrees Celsius on a fan oven, that's 350 Fahrenheit. And we're going to pop that in the oven for about 55 minutes. So once the cake is done, which you'll know because you can insert a skewer or a knife into the middle of the cake and it will come out clean, we're going to take it out of the oven and then leave it on a wire rack in the tin for 10 minutes before turning out. Whilst it's in the tin cooling down for that 10 minutes, we're going to make a really simple glaze, and it's just almost like what you'd get on a donut. So it's going to be just icing sugar and milk and a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of salt, just stirred together until everything is nice and combined. So for that glaze, you're just going to brush it all over the cake using a pastry brush so you get a nice thin, even coating. And you do this whilst the cake is still warm because it helps to create that nice semi-translucent look you get on that kind of classic donut. Once it's set and the cake is fully cooled, you can cut a slice and dig in. It's the most delicious Neapolitan marble Bundt cake. It's got that classic pound cake texture, nice and tender, just moist enough, but doesn't really need anything else elaborate. It's perfect on its own. I want to say a big thank you to Nordic Ware for sponsoring this video. It is their 75th anniversary this year. This is the tin that they have released to celebrate that anniversary. If you want the recipe, you can click on the link down in the box below or up in the corner. And if you want to find out where you can find the tin or any one of Nordic Ware's products, the link is also in the description box down below. Until next time, I'll see you later.